Remember all the hoopla about Jade Helm in 2015? Well, you might not if you weren't thinking about prepping and watching channels at that time. But YouTubers were spreading all kinds of stuff. Government takeover and imposing martial law. Walmart's turned into FEMA camps. A whole bunch of things because of this military exercise. And here's an excerpt from a video I posted at the time.
And many people are supposing something else is going on rather than just a military exercise. Now, if you want my opinion, which is only my opinion and it isn't worth much, I think it's exactly what it says. I think it is a military exercise.
Jade Helm was really just a military exercise. There were 2 other military exercises going on in Michigan also. One was Northern Exposure and the other one was Arctic Eagle. You know, these exercises were good because they were helping the military work sometimes with local government officials for a disaster, like I think it was nuclear for Northern Exposure here in Michigan. And the Jade Helm was how to do what they had to do in a desert environment. So they're using California, Texas, and I don't know, one other state too for their exercises. But again, this was just trying to have some experience in case something would happen in the future, which is very, very good and not something to have all these conspiracy theories about. Now, I was right. Many channels were wrong. I don't hear them ever saying that they were wrong. And, you know, I'm a small channel. Who really listens to me about that, right? But some things recently and some videos I've watched have made me think, I gotta say something again. And you might agree or disagree with me, but please listen to what I have to say. Okay, recently there was a thing about Walmart having one of their automatic announcements on their loudspeaker tell people it's a good idea to stock up supplies for 72 hours and, you know, food, flashlight, blah, blah, blah. Okay, a lot of people thought, oh my God, even Walmart is warning us. The honest is, what is the month? If you've been watching 30 Days of Preparedness, you know what the month is. That's right. September is National Preparedness Month. I'm sure Walmart was just working with FEMA, trying to get people to do 72-hour kits, which is great. That's what we want. We want people to do that. But don't make this bigger than it is, that Walmart somehow has information that, you know, terrible things are happening and they're trying to tell their consumers. That just isn't the way it is. The next thing was all this hoopla about September 24th, which is coming up. And this all started because of a German legislator that said the following. Everyone will remember exactly where he or she was on September 24th. Well, of course, this was a speech in German, so most people are just trusting what they're being told. But now we have a recant. Now they have an update. It seems clear that he misspoke about that date and meant to reference February 24th as the reference with his full speech. And he was talking about February 24th because this is when all the Ukraine things started. Again, what makes people think that some little legislator in Germany knows that something catastrophic is going to happen, economic collapse or whatever? How would he know ahead of everybody else? Why do people take these things just as fact without looking a little further? Okay, and many of you watch Alaska Prepper, and I sometimes do too. Rudy often has good information, but lately he's gotten more and more into the conspiracy side of things. And that could be because that is what he believes, but of course it also ups your channel views. So I don't know. He still has a lot of great information about food preps, but this was the newest thing. He referred to an old video he did concerning the 2015 simulation of a food shortage in 2020. And this was done, remember, 2015. He's now seeing that many of the observations made during that are coming true in 2022. And this is what he said. People say this is all coincidence. Do you honestly think this thing wasn't planned? Yes, I do, Rudy. I don't think it was planned. Let's look into the roots a little bit of what this food chain reaction study was. It really was pretty unique idea. They used actual game creator people to create this. They had a scenario and they had different people around the world. Let me go into a little more detail. They used game designers to simulate a real world food crisis scenario for players. And they conducted it as role playing, and they had participants from more than a dozen different countries, handpicked to represent many views. A former diplomat from Brazil, a care representative from Mozambique and Tanzania, a senior executive from a global agribusiness, former U.S. Secretary of Agriculture. Then they were given the following scenario. Coup in Pakistan, flooding in Bangladesh, the world's farmers were breaking under the pressure of volatile commodity prices. Reliable food supplies couldn't be relied on anymore. And it was interesting initially to see how people reacted. Policymakers across continents initially reacted to these developments with ad hoc responses, ranging from a meat tax. Remember what I said what's going on in Holland? A lot of people being kind of discouraged from eating meat. Never mind. Through the European Union to increase humanitarian aid, but the crisis continued unabated and volatility in food prices became the new normal. Finally, government, businesses, and multilateral institutions came together to increase food stockpiles and act a universal carbon tax to lessen the possibility of a future shock to the global food system. And why were they doing this? It was driven by their thought that in 2050, the world's population will approach 10 billion people and the demand for food will double. And how do we meet this demand while still taking care of our planet? They said right now agriculture uses about 40% of the Earth's land and 70% of fresh water we consume. It's also the leading cause of deforestation and responsible for a quarter of greenhouse gases we emit. And they're saying we can't afford to just ramp up agricultural production without considering the impacts on nature. So what a great scenario, what a great game. I don't know if you ever played any role-playing games, but they can be a lot of fun and they can help you think of the what ifs. I sometimes play those in my brain, right? What if this happened? What would I do? What would we do? Well, this is doing it more in a global thing. How do we solve this? Kudos to them. I think it was a great idea. And since the value of role-playing is in revealing how people might respond to stressors in real life, the participants spent 2 days working through 4 rounds of play that covered a 10-year period. And during that time, they had to manage the shocks such as flooding, coups, and shortages we are likely to see of more in the future. And it says that they collaborated, negotiated, shared knowledge, and they learned something from this. The main thing they learned is you can't do business as usual, and volatility is the new normal. Amen. It sure is. But was this a platform to influence world events? I don't think so, Rudy. I don't think so. I think this was a great idea. Will it have any lasting impact? Well, I question that because for some reason, if our own legislators can't work together, how can we expect different governments to work together? Another conclusion was waiting for a crisis is not a plan. Throughout the game, there were periods of complacency, and some players only took significant action during times of severe crisis. As a result, warning signs went unnoticed, and the subsequent impacts were worse than they would have been had action been taken earlier. And I have links to that down below. But yeah, that's actually a good message to people who are prepping everywhere. You know, all I'm saying is be careful what you see, read, hear, and do your own research. I think I say that again and again and again. And I have a whole playlist on warning and observations that I'll put here. But one of the things I see is YouTube creators and maybe friends and acquaintances go down that rabbit hole, right? They start seeing conspiracies around every corner, and there's always a cause and effect by somebody in control. And I got to keep asking, why do we think there is a Illuminati type organization or somebody controlling all of our events? Really? I find that extremely hard to believe. But yet people are willing to believe that without checking facts on their own. So I just had to make this video very quickly, but wanted to tell you again, think, be logical before you react and before you spread things to other people. As always, thank you so much for subscribing, and be sure to spread the knowledge.